high plains of Kansas and the northeast corner of the land of enchantment.
It's Friday.
The land of EWTN all across the Lone Star State.
It's GRN Alive.
Bringing you faith, fun, and facts.
Live from the studios of the Guadalupe Radio Network.
Join us on the show. Call
877-757-9424.
877-757-9424.
Good morning and welcome to GRN Alive Friday edition. It's September 25th, Friday of the 25th week in Ordinary Time, and we are live today. It's beautiful where we are. We are officially in the season of fall. My personal favorite season of the year. I don't know why. It's something about fall. It just makes me, it's my happy season. So we hope you are enjoying your Friday morning so far. And we invite you also to join in on the program today. We've got some great topics and great in-studio guests. We're loaded up here in studio. 877-757-9424. I want to welcome all the folks in studio with me. Dr. Chris Malloy from the University of Dallas. How you doing, Dr. Chris? Dr.
Doing
Malloy?
well. Good morning.
Good to see you. Got a new bow tie on?
I do, yeah.
Okay. I like to say things about appearance because then it drives people to our social media platforms. They're like, I want to see what Dr. Malloy's bow tie looks like.
I don't know, man. Maybe
Alex
I won't
has
answer.
got a hat.
We should start like placing bets what color it's going to be, what the style's going to be.
Your kids must have the easiest time buying you Christmas gifts.
I bought 2 of these, and ever since then I've been getting them as gifts.
Yeah, that's interesting. I want to interview sometime on you and your bow ties. And Alex, we won't highlight it yet. Alex, at some point during this interview, is going to put on a hat that pertains to a topic we're going to talk about. It's really cool.
Yes, it's
you got to check that out.
You do have to check that out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And of course, you heard Cecil Anderson's voice. Good morning, Cecil.
Good morning.
And Alex Trevino. How you doing?
Great week. I missed not being here last Friday because of the share-a-thon.
Yeah,
heard it went great, and
boy, you just led perfectly into our
beautiful
segue. Segue was perfect. Yeah,
not planned. So
no,
great.
yeah, dress rehearsal went just as well. But anyways, Alex Trevino is here, and he actually brought a friend of his who's going to be our guest in the third segment. A really interesting topic. We'll tell you about that in just a second. Also, Diane Xavier is here. She's the silent one, but she does a lot of great work behind the scenes, and she makes sure that we're up on Facebook and Twitter. So if you want to go to either of those platforms and see what's happening behind the scenes and all of us, just go to that. And the handle is at GRN Online is what it is. So, all right, as Alex mentioned, great share-a-thon last week. This is the first time we've been on the air since then. But, last Monday we got on, and we were filling in for Houston, as you recall. And Toya Hall, that happened to be her birthday, she gets on, and she's, we do that little surprise. We get everybody calling in. And Toya mentions that her birthday wish is to get 1,000 calls during the share-a-thon, right? Mm-hmm. And that almost never happens.
It doesn't.
It's like 800 usually.
Yeah, 800, 900 maybe.
Yeah, 800, 850, maybe something like that. You would think, when you reach an audience, a potential audience of 21 million people, you can get 1,000 calls. But, that's just the reality of things. And so, I don't know if y'all heard. I know, Cecil, you heard it, but
I haven't heard.
You haven't heard? Okay, the last hour of the share-a-thon, Friday, 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, we go into the hour, and we've got about 870 calls, okay, going in.
Wow.
And so, we just decide, hey, why not? Let's just go for it. Let's just see if the listeners can come together, any donation, any size. It's not, any call in $5, $10. And by golly, the phones just lit up, and Cecil was taking calls and texting her family members and people.
It was chaos, honestly. It was, but a beautiful chaos.
At one point, we had 24 calls on all at the same time. So,
whoa!
That's why I ran away from the board to go take a call.
Ended up with 1,014 calls.
Fantastic.
That's awesome.
In an hour. I would like to just stress that was in just over an hour.
Yeah. Well, the 1,014 were in 4 days, but
that's 140.
I meant that 140 in an hour, which is
in
insane.
1 hour.
We average probably what you say 20 an hour or something.
I'd say a good hour is 25. 30 calls. You're really, really doing well.
Yeah.
And to do that.
And this was about 150 calls in that last
That's fantastic.
hour.
Yeah.
And I kind of doubted it for a second when you first brought it up, but then that just goes to show God can do anything.
Yeah, it's like you just got to throw it out there and not doubt.
So did Sissel bilocate to answer all those?
I kind of did.
Pray to St. Pio.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it was cool. And the hour before that, we had the San Antonio Family Association guys on.
Yeah, the
and
Safer guys, yeah.
That hour was so. Anyways, I thank everybody. You really came through. We always say so often that when we really need something, you come through, and you did in a real great fashion. So really appreciate the generosity, and that means we got Catholic Radio for the next 3 months until the Christmas share time. All right, a couple other things. We got some Fishers of Men events coming up across the network. If you're in the Birmingham area, or you can drive in from Florida or Mississippi, there's Damon Owens is going to be speaking at the Fishers of Men event October 8th in Birmingham, and then October 29th. Fishers of Men event in Midland, sold out. You cannot buy tickets. Guess who the speaker is? He's some bishop from Tyler, Texas. Have you heard of him?
Wow.
Yeah, no, Bishop Joseph Strickland.
That's
is the
fantastic.
Speaker. That is sold out. And so, anyways, you can probably still donate and support the efforts out there. All right, on the program today, as I alluded to last segment, we're going to be talking about a documentary coming out called Mass of the Ages, How Tradition Will Restore the Church. And Alex, you're the one that kind of put all this together. So you want to highlight the topic and the guest?
Yeah, so I'm friends with Jonathan Weiss, the producer of the documentary, and they're actually here in Dallas shooting this week. And so Cameron, the director's here, and just from their website, it's a stunning documentary on the Latin Mass, and it investigates the connection between worship and belief with real stories and expert interviews. And their video on their Kickstarter is unbelievable. It's shot just like a very cinematic, pure film. The angles are perfect. You see the incense. It's just so beautiful, and it's what's going to draw so many people to the Latin Mass.
That's
I believe.
awesome.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it that the Latin Mass is getting a lot more attention. A lot of people are being drawn to it. Our parish is an ordinariate parish, which is kind of in between the Novus Ordo and the Latin Mass. You
Best of both worlds.
You participate in the Latin Mass parish,
Yeah,
right?
I'm a
Mater Dei?
I'm a convert, man. Yeah, so I am going to Latin Mass. I've been a member for almost 2 years. And we've been going before that. The parish is very flexible in terms of like allowing a first communion, you take the exam and all that. So before we were members, we got some nice help assistance that way. And we've been members. So, and today, in fact, is an Ember Friday. So that means it is a day of.
I think everybody
I was going to say to our uneducated listeners, including myself,
Yeah,
what does
I'm just kind of nodding like
I'm
just
just
talking about. What does that mean?
So Ember Days happen 4 times a year, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday of the year. And what they are is days of prayer and penance. And so it goes way back to the very early, the 1st century, where we moved it on Wednesday and Friday. And the Jewish people would do it, I think, on Monday and Wednesday or Monday and Thursday, something like that. And the Christians shifted it a little bit, to the newness of the resurrection. And they're great days to move into the fall with some penance, to move into the new season. It could be a liturgical season, say around beginning of Lent, beginning of Pentecost. They're great ways to kind of remind us that it's not just Lent where you fast.
Cool. Yeah, you knew that, didn't you?
Yeah,
Alex?
I canceled my Friday barbecue with all my friends. I remembered it was Ember Days.
2
Of
reasons
course,
to cancel that.
Of course,
thing.
I remembered. So
All right, so that'll be the last segment of the program, and we got the director of the documentary who's joining us. He's actually already in studio, but he's just sitting there. But he'll join us and tell us more about that. And they had a fundraiser that just exceeded just like blew out the goal.
Oh, it was nuts. Yeah,
and
that ticker was like exponentially climbing when I was watching it, months ago. And so he'll tell
That's
you more
awesome.
about it.
And
It was
speaking
awesome.
of documentaries, also I had to pre-record this because the guest couldn't come live, but there is a movie coming out called Pray, the Patrick Peyton story, coming to theaters 2 weeks from today, Friday, October 9th. And Father Patrick Peyton is an amazing story. I mean, we've all heard the family that prays together stays together. He was the rosary priest. But, Archbishop Fulton Sheen gets a lot of attention, and rightly so. I love Archbishop Fulton Sheen. I don't think as many people know about Father Peyton. This guy... I don't like using the term rock star because I think it sounds kind of stupid, but
Right.
he really was kind of that level of a really, really amazingly popular priest. He had a lot of friends in Hollywood. Hollywood loved him, which today Hollywood pretty much hates the Catholic
Yeah.
Church, but
Yeah, unless you're on American Ninja Warrior. Did you see that?
Yes,
Yeah, there's a
John-
priest competing on
Yes.
American Ninja Warrior
Well, do you know-
with his clerics on and everything. It was awesome.
Oh wow, that's awesome!
A
And also,
manly
there's
priest.
the papal ninja we've had on the
Oh,
show
yeah.
years ago.
That was
Sean
awesome.
Bryan,
the papal ninja.
Sean
Yeah, he
Bryan.
was actually in
Woo, woo.
studio.
Oh, that's awesome.
and he was second place last
Did he
year.
do any stunts in here for Facebook
I
Live?
wish.
That would
I wish.
Yeah, we don't really have it set up.
Nunchucks.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been awesome.
So, anyways, Father David Guffey is the executive producer of the movie Pray, the Patrick Payton story, and so we'll play that interview here in a little bit as well. And Father Payton, just an amazing person. And let's see, that's the show. And then we got a lot to talk about as far as news, and Sissel's going to lead us in some of these news stories. Don't say nothing's going on, because there's a lot going on in the news.
I'm gonna catch you unawares one time again. Yeah, definitely a lot going on in the news. This last Wednesday, we had the National Prayer Breakfast, which had guest President Donald Trump, who had pre-recorded remarks that included an announcement that he would be signing an executive order that would require medical care be given to infants who are born alive after failed abortion attempts. And he said, quote, "Today I'm announcing that I will be signing the Born Alive executive order to ensure that all precious babies born alive, no matter their circumstances, receive the medical care that they deserve. This is our sacrosanct moral duty."
Yeah.
And so that was it. The Born Alive Infant Abortion Survivors Act has been introduced several times in Congress. It's been failed to become a law, and several states have passed their own version of the bill. But now that it's getting up, this executive order, the full extent of it has not been released, but it's getting up there now.
I think the most amazing thing is that any president has to do an executive order about this.
Right, that seems something so
I know.
obvious. So
But you remember back in January of 2019, the governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam, was on a radio program, and his quote, we were talking about late-term abortion when a mother is literally in labor, and he said, quote, "If a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered, the infant would be kept comfortable, the infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired, and then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother." End quote. What's the discussion?
yeah, I just re-listened
that's
to that
crazy.
It just
a
makes
couple
me
weeks
chill.
ago, and yeah, it brought me chills.
Yeah, it's
I hadn't
scary.
felt that in a long time. It was.
It's logically
scary.
consistent, though. You know, I mean, this is a life,
Yeah.
so it's out of the womb.
I mean,
But
gosh.
the world is our womb in a sense. I mean, it's consistent. It's child murder all the way.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But it's going to
Back.
force the pro-abortion side to either have to come out and criticize him for this, which is going to make him look horrible, or they're going to have to ease a little bit on their staunch support of abortion and say, okay, maybe we'll give you this, you know.
Right.
But either way, they're either going to upset their base.
What I've seen from a lot of abortion advocates too is they say, well, babies aren't really born alive after abortion. That doesn't happen. And then, you know, on Twitter yesterday or whenever he announced it on Wednesday, Gianna Jessen, who we know has cerebral palsy, you know, survived an abortion. She made a video thanking the president for that.
Yeah.
That he stood up for people
Yeah.
like her who do exist. People deny that people like that exist,
Yeah.
and she spoke up. And that video is going pretty viral right now on social media.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so that was pretty cool.
It was. Was he? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
There's a French movie, Jean de Florette, I think it is, that is about a man who's got a defect from a botched abortion.
Oh wow!
And it's a powerful French film. I would say caution if you're going to watch it with your children. There's unfortunate, French nudity in there, but it's
I like how you said that.
it's
French
a-
nudity.
it's the European.
I'm not going to ask for elaboration on that one.
It's the European thing. They
Yeah,
throw it
they
in
do.
to
They do.
everything. Oh, because
Yeah.
we're Catholic. Wait a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah.
You're not the Sistine Chapel.
They kind of have different standards altogether. So, all right, what else is happening in the news?
Well, it's been exactly 1 week since Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has passed away, which means that there's been a lot of speculation about who and when President Trump's nominee will be announced, which has been said that it's going to happen tomorrow at 5 p.m. And he has about 5 women on this list, including the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals Judge Joan Larson, Fourth Circuit Judge Allison Jones, and Deputy White House Counsel Kate Todd, and more popularly, the 11th Circuit Court Circuit Judge Barbara Lagoa and educator and Judge Amy Coney Barrett are the ones that are kind of in the front running.
That was like
Yeah.
the countdown list.
yeah, the countdown.
Yeah.
Hey, I
Power
know, I was
rankings.
getting there. I was
But
going
I
there.
think only 2 of them are really getting a lot of
They
attention.
are. Yeah, the other ones, it takes a little bit more effort to find their names.
Yeah, right.
But they're both practicing Catholics, which
Yeah.
is amazing.
You know what's amazing is that we have, 45 U.S. presidents. One of them has been Catholic, right? But the Supreme Court, I think 7 of them are Catholic right now. I mean, so for some reason, when it comes to Supreme Court, everybody wants. The
It
president
seems to do good for some of them.
Yeah, but we never. Yeah. But yeah, so.
And that would put the conservative edge on the country's top court from 6 to 3, from 5 to 4. There's a lot of speculation going on. There's a lot of emotions tied into this. Some people are saying that we should wait to have that until after the president is either reelected or Biden is elected, so that the American people have more of a say in it. There's a lot of controversy.
Yeah, it's going to get kind of crazy. So tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern time, he's going to make the announcement.
Yes.
Any bets?
Wow.
What do y'all think?
Well, my bet is with the
Oh yeah. Okay. So
Sweet.
Amy Coney Barrett
You
here.
gotta see this on
You
Facebook.
gotta go to Facebook. 'Cause should we tell him what he put? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Alex has put on a hat and it says, "The dogma lives loudly within me."
That's right. So
Has anybody-
now we know where I stand on who should be picked. I put my kid's college fund on this
Explain
one.
that for people who aren't familiar with that. And my second question is: has anybody, like at the grocery store,
I just got the hat yesterday, so this is my first time.
Haven't worn it.
Are
to
you the
Walmart.
designer?
No, unfortunately, I wish I could take
That
credit
would have
for
been-
it. Yeah,
So the
but-
significance of the dogma lives loudly within me.
So Amy Coney Barrett, when she was questioned in front of the Senate, what was it, 2-3 years ago?
Yeah.
Senator Dianne Feinstein from California, basically, in my opinion, complimented her and said that the dogma of the Catholic faith lives loudly within her.
But she didn't mean it as a compliment.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
I wonder if she would say the same thing to Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, all the other practicing
No,
Catholics.
because it doesn't.
But
Yeah.
Amy Coney
Yeah.
Barrett.
That's
would be
your
nice.
choice.
All right, we
Okay.
got one for Amy.
Any predictions, Sissel?
I'm going to say Barbara Lagoa.
Yeah.
She
She would also be
Why is
fantastic.
that?
They
Yeah.
both would be fantastic. I will have to be opposing to Alex, so we have two
Ah,
different
so
There you go.
Amy Coney Barrett has 7 children. 2 are adopted, and she's I think 48 years old. She's
Yes.
quite young. Barbara Lagoa is 52. And I tend to agree with Alex. I'd like to see Amy Coney Barrett. Everybody's been talking about her for years now.
Because she's
Yeah.
been through the ringer for 3
Yeah.
years now. She hasn't even
She's gone
been
through
nominated
it.
to the Supreme Court. Yeah, she's withstood it for 3 years. I think she can handle it. And
That's true.
It just shows how fervent they are against her. That
I heard she's
gotta be standing for
unflappable
something.
Yeah.
and
she's awesome.
and kind.
Yeah,
Mm.
boy, she's gonna. I mean, whoever it is, they're gonna just put them through the ringer. It's
Yeah.
gonna be
and
awful.
I hope
Kavanaugh's
they-
going to look like child's play, I think.
Yeah,
'cause
I
this
mean-
is the one that everyone's really been waiting for.
But
Yeah.
it's mostly the men, the Supreme Court ones. You think of Clarence Thomas, you think of Robert Bork, you think of what Clarence Thomas had to go. I mean,
Yeah.
what Brett Kavanaugh had to go through. Who was the Gorsuch? Didn't seem to. It wasn't as
he
much
didn't
of
make
a
was
the
early
split,
Scalia, though,
yeah.
so it was just trading.
Yeah.
It was like an even trade.
Yeah,
seemed like,
this is
so.
not an even trade.
This is not
This-
going to be.
this is
This is
epic.
as polar opposite as it gets.
All
Yeah.
right, I think we got to move on. Is there any other big stories or?
No, I just think there was an article that we talked about that saying Roe v. Wade is on the ballot, which is something that I think a lot of presidential campaigns have said. But this time with the death of Justice Ginsburg, it's a little bit different this time.
It's all about abortion.
It's all about abortion.
I mean, it's about killing babies. It's like
60 million.
Yeah, why? Is
Since
this
Roe v. Wade
yes.
became law.
Yeah, it's amazing. This is a fight in our country about whether or not it should be legal to kill babies. I mean, that's the bottom line, and that's why the Supreme Court is such a big deal. It says so much about our country. It's crazy.
And I think it is going. Yeah, it's going in the pro-life direction because
Yeah.
many pro-life leaders have said that Planned Parenthood and other abortion clinics are making plans for what happens if
Yeah.
abortion becomes
Interesting.
illegal.
And first debate Tuesday night.
Yes.
Between Trump and Biden.
We'll
I-
see if it happens.
Yeah, it may have like Super Bowl ratings.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
this
no.
I don't know.
Going to call another lid, isn't that what they call it? And he's done for the day.
Uh.
It's called like 9 so far this month.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
at
thought-
like 8, 9 in the morning. He's like, "Yep, I'm done for the day."
I think it's got to happen. It's got to happen.
Yep.
But we'll see. We'll see. We're just a
pray.
few days away. All right, let's move on. Again, the phone number here. Thanks for joining us. This is GRN Live Friday. Good lively conversation going on here. I had to pre-record an interview with Father David Guffey. He's the executive producer of the Pray movie, the story of Father Patrick Peyton. And play that now. We'll come back for a little bit of chat, and then we're going to talk about the Mass of the Ages, the Latin Mass, with our guest in studio. So here is my interview with Father David Guffey. Welcome back to GRN Alive. It's Friday morning, and very, very happy to have on the line with me Father David Guffey. He is a Holy Cross father, and he serves as National Director of the Family Theater Productions and also the executive producer of a really good movie that I have seen. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It's called Pray, the story of Patrick Peyton, Father Patrick Peyton. It comes out on October 9th, 2 weeks from today. I highly encourage that you see it. Father David Guffey, thanks for being on the show with us this morning. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
All right. So you, like Father Peyton, are a Holy Cross father. And tell us, if you would, for those who are not familiar with Family Theater Productions, obviously, it's kind of synonymous with Father Peyton, but the mission continues today. What is the mission, and what do you all do on a regular basis with the Family Theater Productions these days?
We continue the mission of Venerable Father Patrick Peyton. We create media that would entertain, inspire, and educate people of faith. So we create projects that would help people grow in faith. But we also try to create projects that families can watch together, and stories that support family life and family unity in the faith.
The story of Father Peyton is just amazing, and I think it's so well told in this movie. And there's just on the website, by the way, people can, if they want to learn more about the film, praythefilm.com is the website. You can also watch the trailer there. It says the inspiring true story of a poor Irish immigrant who set sail for America in 1928 with dreams of becoming a millionaire, but with the help of the most iconic celebrities in Hollywood, ends up spending his life championing the message. He's best known for the saying, "The family that prays together stays together." And I'm wondering, I don't recall exactly when Father Peyton died. Did you get to meet him personally or have any contact with him?
I did. I was in the seminary with Holy Cross, and our seminary is at the University of Notre Dame. So this would have been in the late 80s, just a few years before he passed away. Father Peyton had come to Notre Dame, and he walked in the dining room at the seminary, and all of a sudden the room got quiet. I barely knew who he was, to tell you the truth. But people's response to him was amazing. And he was very quiet, even kind of a shy man, which is hard to believe given all the people that he met and all the things that he did. But in that little bit of time at lunch with him at the seminary, there was such a gravitas about him and such a sense of holiness that it made me want to know more about him. And so in the years after that, I certainly got to know him a lot better. And I feel like he's one of my great mentors and friends now.
Yeah, and how hands-on were you? And I want to talk about the movie and, of course, encourage everybody to see it. But as executive producer, were you there, selecting the different interviews and the shots? Or what was your role in the movie?
Well, my role was, first of all, to get the project started. I started at Family Theater about 2008. And at that time, we had a whole room we called the Vault, which was our media vault. And it had video and every sort of film and every sort of audio device, tapes and such. And I started to digitize those for the digital era and found that there was so much that hadn't been seen, and it seemed like there was a story still to tell. So I put together a production team that included an incredible young Catholic filmmaker named Megan Harrington. And Megan and the team did most of the shooting. I kind of was the big picture person that kind of helped shape the general lines of the story, made sure that they had the resources they need to make the story. I was involved in all the cuts and the decisions about what went in the film. But I worked with an incredibly talented team of storytellers that really guided and shaped the film that you saw.
Yeah, and I think I know a lot of times people would say, oh, 2020 is not a year that you want to release a movie because of COVID and the restrictions. But I think in some ways, this is the perfect movie to come out this year because of some of the themes. And I just want to hit on a few of those and get your thoughts, Father Guffey, if I may. And first of all, 2020 has been such a challenging year, and all of us have to overcome in some way. And Father Peyton, as it's told in the story, in the movie, really had to kind of lift himself up through prayer from a almost certain death sentence from tuberculosis. And so he hit a real low time in his life and found a way out of it through prayer, didn't he?
He did. And, if you and I had lived in the 1910s, 20s, or 30s, the disease that we would have been worried about for ourselves and our families would have been tuberculosis.
Yes.
Millions of people contracted it. Some people were in various stages of debilitation, and many people died from it. There was no cure till the onset of antibiotics. So Father Peyton, as a seminarian just a year or so away from ordination, gets a severe case of tuberculosis. And there was no hope. A priest friend of his, who'd been a professor in college, a Holy Cross priest named Cornelius Haggerty, went and visited him and said, look, you have a relationship with God. You love the Blessed Mother. Turn to her and ask her and believe. Just believe. And if you believe 50%, she'll be a 50% or 100%, 100%er. So Father Peyton really turned to prayer in that moment of his sickness and that time of that kind of pandemic of the day. And he was healed. He found healing. And so that wasn't the first time that prayer was part of his life. I mean, he had always prayed with his family. His family in Ireland grew up praying the rosary every evening. But he relied on that kind of foundation that he'd gotten from his home to get him through that difficult moment in his life as a young adult.
And what he did with that inspiration was remarkable. And I think a lot of it has to do, he was ambitious. As I said, he came over to America wanting to become a millionaire. So he had that built-in ambition, but he took that and kind of baptized it in a sense and said all of his ambition was going to be in thanksgiving to Our Lady. And then he just took off. And it's hard in a brief interview to explain, of course, it all comes out in the movie, what he was able to do in rallying people and Hollywood and families and these big events. And can you kind of summarize as best you can what his legacy is and what, people say the family that prays together stays together, but that's the slogan. But what's behind that was a remarkable life, wasn't it?
It really was, and at the heart of all that he did is he believed that the family was the key institution. It was the domestic church. It was the building block for the church. It was the building block of society, and people needed to be strong in that family unit, and they could be strong through prayer, especially the rosary. So that was his life's ambition. And his whole life, he never strayed from that, whether it was his time in radio or television or film. All of those were to try to bring families together, inspire them to pray so they'd be stronger. And his whole life through the rallies, he was seen by over 28 million people in in-person events and the rallies that he did around the world. In all those rallies, he kept the focus of this is about bringing your family to pray together so that you can be united with one another because you're united to God.
Yes. Father David Guffey joining us, National Director of the Family Theater Productions, Executive Producer of Pray, the Story of Patrick Peyton. It is coming out 2 weeks from today in theaters, October 9th, and you can go to praythefilm.com and learn more about it. And just an amazing, remarkable story of a humble man who grew up in Ireland, comes over to America, and then just sets the world on fire in a great way. And now his legacy continues. Father, what are you hearing from people who have seen the movie, the impact it's having on families, people maybe having a rededication to the rosary or prayer? What have been the fruits, even now before it's come out, or what are you hearing?
We've had an incredible response from all kinds of people that have seen the film. When we first made the film, frankly, we thought it would be mainly for a Catholic audience. But when we started to show it to people in test screenings, non-Catholics, other Christians, and even people that didn't have any faith were captivated by the story. So, and we think it'll especially be interesting to a Catholic audience. We've heard people say they started to pray with their family. I had a woman that I talked to after an interview that I did the other day, and she decided she was going to pray with her teenage daughters. And it was she thought it would be a hard sell, but they got together, they sat, they sort of said what they were praying for, what their intentions and needs were, and they prayed a decade of the rosary. And she said it was the closest she'd felt to her daughters in a long time. And after they had prayed the rosary, the two girls snuggled up close to her on the couch, and they just sat and talked the evening. That's sort of immediate fruit. That won't happen for everyone, but it shows the kinds of things prayer opens up for a family.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to mention is the movie really highlights how Father Peyton was able to penetrate Hollywood. He was able to befriend some of the top stars of the day. And it almost seems like today there's a seeming conflict between anything having to do with entertainment, Hollywood, and the Catholic Church, and there's that tension. And maybe it was a different era, and there may not have been as much anti-Catholic bias back then, but he still was able to do what it would be great to do today if we were able to penetrate and maybe get Hollywood to be a little bit more Catholic friendly. So can you speak on that aspect of his life and how he was able to befriend some of the top stars of the day in Hollywood?
Yeah, it was a different era. And he started by going to parishes where there were Catholic celebrities, where they worshipped, but it went far beyond Catholic celebrities. Father Peyton had great writers for his radio show. Each of his shows was a little radio place, actually. It was a little story. And each week they had a different star. So they were attracted to the quality of the work. They were happy to do something that was good for family. I believe there's still a lot of people that are. And 10 years ago, it was a lot harder than it is today. What's changed is Catholics have shown that they're an audience. They've shown that they will support media that is quality media that supports their faith. So we've seen a succession of really interesting and good films with Catholic themes that have done quite well. Once you show Hollywood that there's an audience for something, they're going to be a lot more supportive of it. And for a long time, they didn't believe that we were an audience that would actually go to a movie theater or watch a show on TV or buy a quality program. They're learning that we are there, and Catholics do want to watch things that reflect their values.
Yeah, that is certainly true. Father David Guffey joining us again. The movie comes out 2 weeks from today. It's called Pray, the Story of Patrick Peyton. I was able to see an early release of it. Really good. It's fascinating. You'll be inspired. I think, like Father said, you'll be inspired to pray more and get the family together and pray the rosary. Father, what are the particulars? This is going to be in theaters. Is it also going to be available via stream? Can people pre-order it? What can they do now other than plan on 2 weeks from now going to see it in the theater? What should they do?
Theater is the first thing, but look for a streaming release in January. Streaming, and we'll also have a parish program. We have all kinds of parish resources for parishes that might want to do an event for Lent next year in their parish, to use this as a way to kickstart family prayer within their parishes. So all that's on the website, and the website will have details about where it will be available. So I'd encourage people to go to the website, and you can sign up for updates too, so that when your listeners can get first alert when the streaming, it's available for pre-order, and when it's available for parish events.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, the question just popped into my mind. Was he friendly with Bishop Fulton Sheen? Did they seem to both kind of like the media and have similar kind of charismatic personalities? Did they know each other?
They did, and Father Pat was quite a bit younger than Bishop Sheen.
Yeah.
You freaked me out when you did that.
So Bishop Sheen was a real mentor to Father Pat.
I was like, oh my gosh.
In radio. And his whole life, they kept in contact. Bishop Sheen did a few shows with us. Father Peyton did a few things with Bishop Sheen. So yeah, they were friends, and they stayed connected over the years. Yeah,
and I thought of him because you referred to him as venerable, and of course, people are watching the hopeful eventual canonization of Bishop Sheen and Father Michael McGivney. His cause is underway, and then also Father Patrick Peyton as well. Any updates on how that's going, or if you see that being a very likelihood down the road?
We're hopeful. Every day we get messages from people around the world who found comfort and even healing from Father Peyton. A couple of those we've investigated, sent to diocese for investigation, and there's a couple that are under investigation in the Vatican right now. So people are really turning to him and recognizing Father Peyton as a holy man, and we hope the Church will recognize that too.
Yeah, we can ask everybody to pray for that as well. Father David Guffey, thank you so much. The movie is called Pray, the Story of Patrick Peyton, in theaters October 9th, and as Father said, look for the stream release in January of 2021. And the website is praythefilm.com. Father Guffey, thanks so much for your time this morning.
God bless. Thank you for having me.
All right, there you have it. So I highly encourage that film. Again, this is somebody that a lot of people don't know that much about, and I think we need to know more about him because the lessons, the power of prayer, pray the rosary, lean on Our Lady. I mean, there's a lot of lessons from his life.
I was amazed at Ralph Cramden. Humana. It looks great.
Yeah, it's good. I've seen it. It's kind of documentary style, but the guy had a magnetism. There's kind of these intangibles that people were just drawn to him, and he would have some of these rosary rallies that would draw. I mean, I think I'm thinking he went to like the Philippines and 500,000 people came. It's like the Pope.
Wow.
It's like a Pope audience. What John Paul II
That's
back
amazing.
in the day.
Wow.
Back then, back then. That's like in the 40s and 50s, right?
Yeah. And is there any? I know it's a different age, but is there any bishop, priest that could kind of influence Hollywood and bring Hollywood to the
amazing.
church like Sheen did, like Father.
We need it.
Who's situated to do that is Bishop Barron.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, he's in LA. I mean,
Right.
he's there.
Right.
But too bad so many people are leaving LA right now. So there's not going to be many people left there to.
He's got a dwindling
yeah,
audience, doesn't he?
So I mean, Austin's probably where it's at now. In the
Well, that's
in
the
the
group
film
that
world.
really needs it, though. If you
Yeah.
think about it.
They
Yeah.
really do.
So I was thinking also, the cause of canonization. Three priests come to mind. Of course, Archbishop Fulton Sheen. That one's kind of weird because it was on and then it was off, and who knows what's going on there. Of course, you got Father Michael McGivney, the founder of the Knights of Columbus.
Yes,
His cause is underway. And then Father Patrick Payton.
These are great
these are three American priests,
Yeah.
slash bishops that
Great intercessors for us now, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So, anyways,
He's connected with the rosary and the family, so he's doing that. And then
Yeah.
of course, we have the Fatima, and then the private revelation to Lucia later after Fatima, where she says the final battle. We've talked about that.
Right.
The family
family.
versus Satan. Mm-hmm. And he's clearly after the family now.
yeah,
With the whole LG plus, etc.
yeah.
The whole everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the daily rosary, that's something that I've said before. Our family goes kind of off and on, but we've gotten kind of pretty consistent with it now, and highly recommend it. And I will say, for those who have young kids, like Alex, if you start it early, if you try to
That's the way to do
start
it.
it when they're in
Right.
high school, they're like, oh, come on.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
But if they've been doing it since they were, 2 years
yeah.
old, it's just like, this is just what mom and dad do.
I started teaching the Hail Mary to my 3-year-old, and it was Hi Mary, the Ford is with thee. We're getting there.
Mary's not a
Yeah,
Ford.
it was
Progress.
great. Yeah, it was great.
Well,
It was
my
great.
7-year-old son, he'll say a deck of the rosary, but he does it, speed. I mean, he is, like almost to the point. But hey, that's
It worked for the Fatima kids.
That's true.
That worked for him,
That's true.
maybe the angel of Portugal is going to visit my son
That
and
would
say, hey,
that would be so awesome.
Slow it down.
all right, we're going to take a quick break and come back, and we're going to talk about a wonderful documentary that is not even out yet. It's being shot literally today, and the director, Cameron O'Hearn, joins us in studio. And so it's about the Latin Mass, and we'll learn about the rising popularity of it, what is it, the beauty of it, and so these kind of things. And we do invite you to call in if you have any questions, or maybe you go to a Latin Mass parish, you want to talk about your experience, or do your kids like it? Is it hard? A lot of things we could talk about. The phone number is 877-757-9424. So a quick break. We'll come back with GRN Alive Friday right after this.
I'll bet you know by now that Amazon Smile is a great way to support your favorite charity. And supporting the Guadalupe Radio Network while you shop is easy. Step 1. Just start off at smile.amazon.com. Step 2. Choose La Promesa Foundation as your charity. La Promesa Foundation is the parent company of Guadalupe Radio Network. And Step 3. Enjoy your shopping. Amazon will donate a portion of your purchase to the La Promesa Foundation, and it doesn't cost you any extra. La Promesa Foundation and Guadalupe Radio Network, thank you.
I've never heard y'all before. There is this lady with her big white SUV, and on the back of the windshield is this big cross with y'all's radio station underneath. Put it on y'all's radio station anyhow, and then it starts talking about the saints and how the saints give you signs and they lead you into the right direction. I just appreciate you and God for putting that sign in my life and letting me know that it is Him and it's okay.
The Guadalupe Radio Network. Radio for your soul.
Solidarity Health Share is rebuilding Catholic healthcare in America. We conform to the moral guidelines of the Catholic Church so that you never have to worry about your healthcare dollars paying for anything that violates your conscience. From conception to natural death, we strive to serve all healthcare needs, protect human life, celebrate families, and promote the dignity of all people. Join Solidarity Health Share in restoring and rebuilding authentic Catholic healthcare by signing up at solidarityhealthshare.org, a sponsor of the Guadalupe Radio Network.
Pray, the story of Patrick Peyton is coming to theaters nationwide on October 9th. The film tells the inspiring true story of a poor Irish immigrant who set sail for America in 1928 with dreams of becoming a millionaire, but with the help of the most iconic celebrities of Hollywood, ends up spending his life championing the message, the family that prays together stays together. The miraculous true story of Venerable Patrick Peyton, his heroic life of perseverance and prayer, is coming to theaters nationwide on October 9th. For more information, praythefilm.com.
All right, we're back. This is GRN Live Friday morning. Thank you for joining us. We're live in the North Texas studio. The whole gang is here, in studio guest as well. Phone number 877-757-9424. There is a stunning documentary on the Latin Mass coming out. It's called Mass of the Ages, investigating the connection between worship and belief with real stories and expert interviews. And we are joined in studio with the director of the documentary, Cameron O'Hearn. Joins us, which is interesting because typically when somebody joins us, the film or the project is done, but you guys are like literally doing it right now, right?
Literally yesterday.
Yeah.
We started day one of production. We just had our Kickstarter fully fund, doubled our goal. It was incredible. And now yesterday was our first day of production. So
yeah.
Oh, well, sorry for pulling you out of
and you
shooting.
picked Dallas.
Stressful that's got to be. So thanks for coming out. Yeah, in Dallas. Why Dallas?
Well, actually, we're trying to stretch the budget as far as possible. So we were already on a shoot out here. And we interviewed Dr. Taylor Marshall yesterday and Dr. Michael Foley at University of Baylor. So we're just finding people where we're already going to. But then we have the budget to, go to Italy and France and the UK. And so we're going to be everywhere.
That is
Thanks
awesome.
to that successful Kickstarter project, huh?
That's
You get to
right.
travel the world. So what's the premise? What was the inspiration? What's it all about?
Well, I could talk about the inspiration. I mean, it goes back to my own personal faith.
Yeah.
So in high school, I was on a retreat, and they had Eucharistic procession with the monstrance, and I had a lot going on in my life. I was in impure relationships and all this, and just crazy high school kid. But I knew about Jesus. I just didn't know the character of Jesus. I didn't know who Jesus was. But in this moment, as the Eucharist was passing by, I felt his powerful love come into me. Mm. And I believed he was who he said he was, that this Eucharist in front of me was really Jesus, the King.
Yeah.
And ever since that moment, I wanted to spend time with him. I wanted to get to know him. And at Mass, I started to recognize this is Jesus the King who's here. Do we really believe this? Like, this is a bizarre, insane belief. But we as Catholics believe that every Mass, Jesus is actually there, as if I'm in Nazareth, like hanging out with him. He's actually touching me. Like, this is crazy. And then the Pew Research study comes out. 70% of Catholics don't believe in the real presence, the distinctive Catholic doctrine. And even of Mass-going Catholics every Sunday, only 60% of them believe in the real presence. And so it just came down to me in adoration one evening, and it's one of those times you hear this quiet voice within you that's very clear. Do something about it. Like, what am I supposed to do about it?
Yeah.
And I made a simple video. I was like, I did something about it. It's like, no,
Job done. Job's done. Yes, did it.
I want to do something big something so big that I know that I couldn't have done it myself.
Yeah.
That I'm just gonna jump and feel the parachute cords, you know. And that was the whole Kickstarter. It's like, let's just start, let's just jump and see what happens. And we want to do a feature-length documentary on the Latin Mass because we believe there's a strong connection between the way we worship and what we believe.
Mm-hmm.
There's a dictum that goes back to the 5th century from St. Prosper of Aquitaine, and it's lex orandi, lex credendi. The law of prayer is the law of belief. So we believe that the way we worship is the foundation to what we believe, and we believe that the reason why the majority of Catholics don't believe in the real presence is simply because we're not acting like it. And we want to show, the whole liturgy question is very complicated. I'm not an expert. We're going to interview experts, but while all that is being worked out, what are you doing next Sunday? Where are you going to Mass? What are you taking your children to? And I've found that the Latin Mass simply treats Jesus as the King.
Mm-hmm.
And it's as simple as that. We act like he's the King. All the focus is on Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Even the way the priest, holds the Blessed Sacrament, focuses on the Blessed Sacrament. He keeps his forefinger and his thumb together after the consecration just to not lose any particle. Before and after, each time he touches the Eucharist, he genuflects. The paten is always held horizontal under the Eucharist just so no particle is lost. We receive on our tongue, kneeling. It's just everything is about, we really, really believe this.
Mm-hmm.
And that trickles down to everything.
Yeah, amazing. Were you surprised at the response?
Yes.
I mean, was this like a whole bunch of grassroots people or a couple of big donors come in? I mean, you tripled what you expected for the Kickstarter project. Obviously, there's a will out there to get this story out there.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was grassroots. It was a lot of people donating and giving. We had about 20 people giving a substantial gift of over $2,000. We call them our subdeacons. But mostly it was just the grassroots, just people. We thought if we could just get something out there and show that this is a legitimate thing, we're not just running around with a video camera making a YouTube video, that this is actually a film you can see in the theaters. That if we got that out there and people saw it was quality, that people would rally behind it, and that's exactly what happened.
So did you have a little video to get that going that showed the professionality? Because I feel that I've seen this, so I thought you were already done, because I thought I saw something of high quality. I don't have much time to do Facebook, but I think it was Dr. Kwasniewski sent something. Would that be correct? Okay.
Yeah, so we wanted to make basically a trailer before the movie is made. So usually the trailer comes after the movie, but you have to give people an idea of what the film would be if it was funded.
Right. And what they're funding, what they're putting their money towards, right?
And to show that it's quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to say, that video itself, I think just sold it so beautifully.
It's impressive.
It gave you a very clear indication of just the type of quality that was going to go into the
film. We have an
amazing
amazing team. I've been working with the producer, Jonathan Weiss.
Shout out to Jonathan.
I could not have done this without him, because you can really feel isolated and like it's too big to carry on your own, and it certainly is. And I needed him. And a year ago, we were talking about this. Can this really happen? And he was just my support through it all. So we did it together. And the cinematography is done by Thomas Shannon, who's with us today, working with us. And he made it absolutely stunning. And it was just a team coming together. We did it for free just to get it out there, just to hustle and do it. And then we got this huge response, and now we can make this feature-length documentary.
Awesome.
Yeah. I saw on Kickstarter, too, you have like 1,600 backers or something like that.
I actually don't remember the number, but
it's online. I saw it online today. 1,600
amazing,
people who believe in this.
What does it mean, backers?
1,600 support, like people who
financial
donated.
supporters.
Yeah, it's like the 1,000 callers for the Share-a-thon. They had, 1,600 people that donated.
They got more than we did.
I know. share the secrets.
Hey, let me ask you about Summorum Pontificum, the significance of that. You can tell everybody what that is, and also people are likely familiar with the FSSP, the Priestly Fraternity of St. Peter. I did a little research as far far as how many dioceses, how many parishes? I don't know if you have those numbers on the top of your head. I can share those as far as, but about the growing popularity of the traditional Latin Mass.
Yeah, I mean, with your little research, you might know more than I do about the numbers and things. My role is to interview the experts, get them in front of the camera. I'm the director. I have the creative vision. But I do know a bit about it. I love studying the liturgy. And what I would say about Summorum Pontificum is that Benedict XVI liberalized the use of the extraordinary form, which was his term for the traditional Latin Mass, the Roman Rite, the 1962 Missal before all the changes. And what I mean by that is a priest doesn't need permission from the Pope to celebrate the Latin Mass. Any priest can learn it. If you have a stable group of faithful at a parish who requests it, they must get the Latin Mass. They deserve the Latin Mass. And even if the priest doesn't allow it or the bishop doesn't allow it, it goes all the way up to the Ecclesia Dei Commission, which was established by John Paul II. And so it goes all the way up to the Vatican so that it ensures that if there's a stable group of faithful who want the Latin Mass, they get it.
Mm-hmm. Oftentimes you hear young people are drawn to the Latin Mass. Do you get any and again, I talked about those statistics, so I'll just share those. A very, very quick, I don't know if these numbers are accurate or not, but according to the FSSP website, they're active in 39 dioceses in the U.S., 7 in Canada, 112 priests working in 54 apostolates, and it's grown pretty significantly in the last 10 years or so, and so this is growing in popularity. There's no doubt about that. But anyways, young people are drawn to this. Big families, who's being drawn to the Latin
Young
Mass?
people they don't know the politics behind the changes to the liturgy, which happened in the 60s. So when they come to the Latin Mass, it's like uncovering a buried treasure, if you want to use the kingdom of God analogy, in a field. You just see this treasure and you bury it in a field, and you buy the field, and then you get the treasure. It's a new thing for young people, and it's an ancient, mysterious, beautiful, profound thing. And there's also some connection between the kinds of families who attend Latin Mass and how many kids they want to have. And so, you see a lot of big families, a lot of young families. I think the past 4 weekends at my parish, there was 3 times. So at 3 of the 4 weekends, there was a new family I met, just came. And so we're constantly growing. And that's just anecdotal, but I'm sure there should be a study done on it, because I hear it all over the place. People are saying, my parish is standing room only. We just have, we need to add another Mass. Everyone's flocking to the Latin Mass.
Yeah, interesting.
Who are people that you are featuring in the documentary? You mentioned Dr. Taylor Marshall. You interviewed him yesterday. Who else are you going to be featuring, if you can share that information with us?
I don't know how much I can share besides saying that we have bishops who've expressed interest in being interviewed, who've actually said, I would be willing to be interviewed.
That's awesome.
Some cardinals, perhaps, who have expressed interest. And then, besides that, we interviewed Dr. Marshall this morning. I don't think he'd mind me saying Dr. Peter Kwasniewski. And if anyone from the Liturgical Institute is listening, we want to interview you.
I think we typically have them all listening every Friday morning.
Because here's the thing, there's a range of people who can appreciate the Latin Mass and take their family to the Latin Mass, and I think sometimes there's a mentality that people who go to the Latin Mass are just bitter and angry and judgmental, and there are people like that, certainly, but that has not been my experience, my family's experience, my friends' experience of the Latin Mass community. So we want to interview people who kind of break that stereotype, not just quote-unquote trad Catholics, traditional Catholics, but people more in the middle who just maybe they go to Novus Ordo most of the time, but we want to a good documentary kind of just lays out all the evidence and lets the audience make a decision.
Yeah. What about the person? And I know there's a lot of people thinking this. It's like, I go to a mass and I can't understand a word the priest is saying, and he's talking real quietly, and obviously that's one of the objections. The vernacular, at least I hear I understand. He's speaking in my language. What would you say to that objection?
Well, he's not talking to you, first of all.
Okay.
Well, that's brutal but true. Brutal but
There you
true.
go, truth bomb.
All
There
right,
it
yeah,
is.
good.
But it maybe saying it in a more friendly way would be to encourage people to attend more than just one time or twice. I think, especially if try to attend a high mass, which is a sung mass where you have a choir singing the ordinary and singing some polyphony, because then you can just rest in the silence and the music. And the nice thing about the priest facing ad orientem and saying a lot of the prayers in silence is that you don't have to constantly track with every single word the priest is saying. And Benedict XVI said sometimes we can become overwhelmed at mere words when we should be encountering the word. And that's what silence gives us, an opportunity to encounter the word, Jesus Christ. And so, yes, it is certainly difficult for some people their first time. Usually, I've heard it said many times, go 5 times, go for a month.
Yeah.
Try going for Advent, and just every Sunday for Advent, and see what it is you appreciate about it.
Yeah, Cameron O'Hearn joins us, director of the Mass of the Ages. And by the way, our Joe McLean down in Houston, he says when he started using the Missal to follow and pray along, he has to say, I've never felt this connected to the Mass before. And so, my question about the translation, you can follow in English if you get the Missal and you know where the Mass is and all that. I've done that before.
Yeah, it's difficult the first time because you're expecting the priest to kind of hold your hand and kind of be the MC and walk you through it.
Yeah.
But after you go a few times, then the Missal just becomes this thing you can pray out of. You can actually pray at the Mass.
Yeah.
Which you can actually pray the Mass. Like you actually meditate on the introit or the first reading. You don't have to track with every single word the priest is saying. So the Missal is amazing. Yeah, it has that Latin and English side by side. And you can just, if something hits you, you can just sit with that and just, oh my goodness, like, let me just pray with this again and again and again. And yeah.
Cameron, let me, just because we're about to run out of time in the radio program, I don't know if you're going to hang out a little bit after the after show with us or not, maybe even for 5 or 10 minutes if you can. But when do you expect it to be done? How can people watch it? You've raised all the funds, so that part's done. But any guess as to when this will be released and how people can watch it?
Yeah, so we will be done by Christmas 2021.
Okay.
I hope to be done sooner, but certainly it has a lot to do with COVID and travel restrictions and that thing. But we're going to get this done. We're fully funded. It's happening right now. If you go to theliturgy.org, you can find us there.
All right. Hang around a few minutes afterwards. All right. We will let our hair down and have a further discussion on our social media platforms, Facebook and Twitter at GRN Online. So thank you so much for listening. God bless you. Have a great weekend. And don't forget, Joe and the team will be on Monday morning.
Thank you for listening to GRN Alive.
From the studios of the Guadalupe Radio Network.
For more faith, fun, and facts,
join our email list.
All right, we're back, and this is the after show here on GRN Alive. We kind of figuratively let our hair down. Those of us who have hair that can be let down.
Mine, kept your hat on.
Yeah, keep your hat on. And Director Cameron O'Hearn is kind enough to stay with us for a little bit longer. He is the director of the documentary called Mass of the Ages about the Latin Mass. And so we just kind of chat, and we ask you, dear listener and viewer, if you're on our social media platforms of YouTube or on Facebook or Twitter, go ahead and comment, and we'll read your questions. And Sissel comes in to the other side of the glass.
I
and
come
joins us
behind
in
the,
here.
behind the glass.
And sometimes I'll say, Sissel, what do you think about the show? And sometimes she's rendered speechless.
It's not, it's not a fair thing to say. We talk about like 20 different topics, and you're like, what did you think about the show? And I'm like, where do I start?
Yeah. Or if my kids come home from school and say, how'd your day go?
Fine.
Good.
It's like, I'm still processing. Give me a minute.
All right.
Yeah,
so I'm not going to ask you
all
that.
right.
Okay.
Thank you.
But anyways, I'll ask Cameron, what would you like to say about the documentary? Things maybe we didn't ask about, or what would you have?
Well, people on social
wait, turn your
media,
mic on. Is your mic on?
I don't know. Should I press this button?
Yeah, there
you go.
I'm
Magic.
on?
Yes,
Works
you're on
so much
now.
better.
Nice. There we go. So on Twitter and Facebook, people can reach out at Liturgy Film. So that's if you check out our page.
And on our Facebook page, I linked to your guys' website, so you can just, if you're watching on Facebook, just click on the link.
Great work. I mean, there's a lot we could talk about with the documentary. I don't even know where to start. There's so many. It's such a broad perspective. Hello, Julia.
Sounds like a lot of it, it's not like you got exactly what you're going to do and we're going to interview this person. You're still kind of putting this together, right? You talked about maybe some bishops and cardinals who may be in it.
Yeah, here's what I would say is that it's we definitely want to have a story-first approach for the documentary. The great thing about a documentary is that it combines emotional connection with evidence. So you have the heart and the brain involved. And so we're currently story finding. What we do know is that we're gonna tell real stories, authentic stories of Catholics, traditional Catholics who break the stereotypes, who the audience can really connect with and root for. And we're going to interview the sharpest experts that we have to really explain and unpack these sometimes confusing and difficult things. So that I'm really excited about a story-first approach where we, have stories and have evidence, and it's going to be like a full documentary that I think is going to be really powerful.
Right, and I do like how with this documentary, you're basically laying out an argument and letting the audience decide. You're not sort of picking like, this is going to be the one only way everybody goes to mass. You're just kind of laying out, here's the evidence, here's the facts.
That's right.
Audience, go ahead and make your decision now.
When you're scrolling social media, you have barriers up, your guard is up, like you are waiting to defend yourself, or waiting to attack someone. When you watch a film, however, if it's done correctly, if it's a story-first approach, your guard is down, and you're just spending time with these characters, and then at that point, people are open to the evidence. And I think that's why this documentary is going to be so powerful, is because people can just, for maybe the first time, hear the evidence all laid out. Because there's so much people don't know, and there's so much I'm learning. There's this, you can call it a dark period in terms of like what it's mysterious between Vatican II and Mass at my parish on Sunday. Like the changes that happened after Vatican II with the Concilium, with Bunini and Lecaro. It's a very fascinating story how you went from one thing, this Mass that's been around for 1,500 years, to Mass can be different depending on the parish you're going to. And there's a lot of players in it. It's intriguing. It's almost like a murder mystery. Like what's
like
going
a
on?
Netflix
How did
original
this happen?
series. Yeah.
Right.
That would be awesome.
We got
making a liturgy.
We got a comment on Facebook, and I wanted to read from Joan, and she said, my fiance many years ago was an unaccepting type, to say the nicest. He turned me off to their group. I've done both, but now I go to a Novus Ordo. I think what she's saying is that maybe some of the people within a community turned her off, or they were too self-righteous. I think there's a perception that that's the case with Latin Mass communities. That has not been my experience. In the people that I know that go to our local Latin Mass, I would not describe them that way at all. But there is a perception that if I go there and I don't I'm a woman, I'm not wearing a veil. If my kids are loud, everybody's going to think I'm a loser. I mean, talk about that.
Yeah, so there is that perception out there. I talked on the show about how I haven't actually seen that to be the case. I know that there are people in the Latin Mass that act that way. If you're going to have those types of people attending Mass, they're probably going to attend the Latin Mass.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there's anything inherent to the Latin Mass that causes that in people.
Yeah.
I think there's also something to be said for people who attend the Latin Mass are really reticent to change. And they see the liturgy as something very precious, which it is. This is how we worship God. This is how I receive God. And this was taken away from the faithful.
Mm-hmm.
So they're very protective of the liturgy and worried about anything changing. So when someone comes in and short shorts and this and that, I think there's people who feel kind of, for lack of a better word, kind of attacked by that, and they want to like correct it right away. But people who attend Latin Mass, if you're listening, be welcoming. Like just talk to people, ask people their name, where they're from. If you see someone in short shorts and this or that, it's probably their first time there.
Yeah. You don't know when the last time they went to church, period, too.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know the old pastor, Father Lanjouet of Mater Dei here, used to, because Doug Pearson, our former operations manager, used to tell me that he sometimes would tell people during the homilies, listen, if somebody comes in, I don't care how they're dressed. You know, he would coach them that way. Exactly what you're saying, because obviously you don't want to turn somebody off. They may be looking at it and just looking. Their guard may be up because they're thinking they're going to be rejected, but then they get smiles and welcomes, and they're like, oh, okay, this is different.
Yeah, and of course you obviously want to respect the place of worship, and you want to, I obviously. I do get sad sometimes that I feel like we don't dress up as much for Mass anymore. But you kind of have to find a starting point with people.
I do like how Mater Dei does it, though. They have signs up that say, like, if you're a visitor, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate your presence. Next time you come, keep these things in mind.
Right.
Yeah. Wear this, do that. So it's not like they say, no shoes, no shirt, no service.
Right.
But they say, we understand this is your first time and you don't know. So now you know.
Yeah.
And they do it in a really nice, gentle
way.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's the takeaway from the documentary? Are you quote, preaching to the choir and, hey, here's what we got. Isn't this awesome? Are you trying to show people that are not familiar with it at all the beauty of it? Or what do you want people to take from this?
So there's so many faithful Catholics who attend Novus Ordo. And I want to be clear, there's many holier people than myself who attend the Novus Ordo, holier priests in the Novus Ordo. So this isn't about, building camps against each other. So this documentary is for the faithful Catholic in the pew who wants to live their faith, but they attend Novus Ordo. There's so much that they deserve to know about this time period between Vatican II and, Sunday Mass that they attend, that we want to unpack for them and show them, basically, like, put all mystery aside and show them actually what happened. This document, this individual, then this happened. Does this line up with tradition or not? And then people can make their own decisions. Maybe it's best for my family and our faith to attend the Latin Mass. And that's kind of the conclusion, is the way we worship actually does affect what we believe. So I want my kids witnessing, the Eucharist treated with utmost respect, or to not, to be at a place where this music has been around for over a millennia. I want the best for my family. And I want, not just for my family, I want the best for God. I want it, like, there was a reading this morning, I don't know if it was in the Novus Ordo calendar, but about the woman with the alabaster jar of ointment who just breaks this jar of ointment that costs like 300 days' wages and pours it on Jesus's feet, wiping his feet with her hair and her tears. That's what our liturgy should be like.
Yeah.
We want to give everything to God.
Right.
And that's why I see it at the Latin Mass.
Real quick, I got a little story about my experience at the ordinariate parish that I went to. We use incense every Sunday for all the Masses. And the priest got a complaint one time that, there's too much incense and you got to be, sensitive to people with asthma and breathing problems and this and that.
Yeah.
And I was talking to the priest after Mass, and I was like, well, Father, what are we going to do? Because I was in high school, I was always, the thurifer. And he said, well, let's put it this way. The Romans worshiped false gods and they used all the incense they had. We worship the one true God. We're going to use everything we got. So that next Sunday, I made sure I filled that sucker
You're
up
like,
with everything.
extra incense
You could not see into the sanctuary
That's
the next
hysterical.
Sunday. I was like, that's what happens.
I think there's a mass going on up there.
Yeah.
I can't see
It's very foggy. It's the original fog machine.
Got to get like a leaf blower to.
Cameron, one of our Joe McLean's asking if you're
Yeah.
going to be coming to Houston at all in your travels.
Everything is open right now.
Okay.
If you have,
You've been invited.
You've been formally invited to
Yes.
Houston.
if you have stories, parishes that you think would be of interest, reach out. Our email is film@theliturgy.org. So just shoot us an email or connect with us on Facebook or Twitter and let us know. We're cataloging everything. All these names and places that are coming in, we're putting it all together and seeing what the Holy Spirit wants to do.
Awesome.
Joe said, come on down. And then also we heard from Joan again, right?
Yes. Joan said that I'm older, so I grew up with only Latin masses. My non-Catholic niece asked how I understood. I told her you just believe and also showed her a missal.
Yeah.
Nice. You just believe.
Yeah, just
I
believe.
love it.
That's
Well,
right.
yeah,
I love
because what do you mean by understanding, right?
Right.
Because some of the things that happened was after the changes after Vatican II, they wanted to make everything obvious and clear from the outset. So there's no mystery or, depth of, like, you don't have to wrestle with anything. And everything's obvious. But Benedict XVI also said that, it's not just about, intellectual understanding. There's a silence. When we use silence, there's an understanding of the heart that only silence can convey. Only Latin can convey, because it shrouds it in mystery. And then we understand that there's a mystery. Our liturgy reflects God who's infinitely mysterious, and we can always get more and more out of it. So yeah, this whole thing about understanding, I think people just focus on I need to hear every word and understand every word, but then liturgy becomes flat and obvious and linear, and ultimately, especially for people who are on the 1 foot in, 1 foot out of the church, it becomes boring, non-serious. It doesn't. Why should I go?
Yeah.
Joe's planning your documentary for you. He says that there's lots of stories because his parish tripled during COVID. And he says there's lots of stories from newbies. So
Yeah. There
Reach
you
out,
go.
Joe.
I think you got to interview Joe McLean. I think.
yeah, he's made his own documentary too.
Yeah,
Beautiful
yeah.
documentary. So.
Very good.
So what do you think? Some people have said because of COVID, some of the lukewarm folks who were going to Mass may never come back. The more traditional type are certainly not going to leave. You might see an increase in the traditional Latin Mass, maybe more parishes offering it. I heard a story, and I can't reveal the parish, but somebody told me one time that there's a parish, let's just say in this area, where there's a priest who is saying the Latin Mass on his day off, and he does it in the sanctuary, and people will show up, but it's not in the bulletin, it's not an official Mass on but
Wow.
he does it, and it's just on his day off, and people are coming, and so I wonder if there's more priests that are trying to maybe experiment with it.
Could be. So, we hear anecdotal evidence all over the place that post-COVID Latin Mass parishes are just booming. And I think the future is going to be tradition. People who were, not serious about the faith in the first place, they went home for COVID and were locked down, and my life is quote unquote fine without the Mass. I don't need to go back. But then there's people who are faithful Catholics who were streaming the Mass, and there was a lot of beautiful Latin Masses being streamed. And they're like, I want that. And they go find a Latin Mass. Or they go back to their church, and there's just so many restrictions. Like their main concern is that no one gets sick, and they don't have any concern for the worship of God. And so there's just an ungodly amount of restrictions, but they don't find those same amount of restrictions at the Latin Mass. They're still being safe at the Latin Mass, but there's not this over concern with health and safety.
Yeah.
It makes it feel like an airport or like a hospital room. It's like, yeah.
Let me ask you, I'm surrounded by experts here, because you may not know this, but Sissel has a degree in film. And
Yeah, I do.
And and obviously Alex is an expert as well. So how do you make it interesting and any of y'all can jump in from a film production standpoint, because you can take the most interesting topic and make an awful film about
I've
it.
seen those.
Dr. Chris was saying that even what he has seen so far, he was very impressed with. It looked high quality. So what's the strategy and what's your background in that as well? Have you studied film or how did you learn how to do this?
Yeah, I went to film school, but that didn't work out.
So it's usually
self-taught. Usually half of filmmakers are just self-taught. You really learn by doing. So I've been professionally filmmaking for 7 years. Since the beginning, I've been doing documentary-style filmmaking. But I think what makes a good film, you come back to the tenets of storytelling. We've been telling stories for millennia upon millennia. It's in our DNA. There's a well-worn path in the brain that story kind of can capture. And so you just want to use these tenets in your storytelling. You want a hero the audience can root for. You want to have conflict, because without conflict, no one cares. And then you want to surprise people. So, yeah, I mean, we could go into the nitty-gritty of story, but I think for people listening, you want to do it. You want to have someone the audience can root for, someone the audience can connect with. And then from there, you want that hero to go on a journey, which means they overcome something.
Yeah.
They've been triumphant, and then there's this cathartic experience of, they won, and I won.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of Pixar and Disney. I was listening to the Lion King soundtrack the other day and dancing with my kids. Those movies are just, perfect stories, and so are the most of the Pixar movies. So yeah, I learned by doing, I learned by watching, but I'm by no means an expert filmmaker. I think I'm going to be an expert filmmaker when I win an Academy Award.
Yeah.
But who knows if that's what God has for me or anyone. So
I was going to say, you might not even be qualified to win an Academy Award.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah, that's okay.
The only thing I was say when I saw that those new regulations came out, I was like, well, at least I'm a woman.
Got that going for you.
I do have that going for me.
Yeah, you might be okay, Alex. I mean, yeah.
I'll go back to my Latino roots. And
I know. I'm like, let me go back into my genius, see where I come from, see if I can get anything.
Yeah,
I'll just speak
I'm totally up the creek.
I'll speak my fluent Spanish from now on, and we'll go for it.
Yeah,
but,
that's kind of crazy.
And what I was going to say was, just the trailer that you made. I mean, the lighting. It just made the film
aesthetically.
Look, it gave it the seriousness that you're trying to capture. Just that very dramatic lighting coming in. The types of shots that were used, and that's what I was going to say was your cinematographer is probably going to be the biggest asset. And it looks like you hired someone fantastic for that, who's just going to capture the beauty.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time with each and every shot. What is the shot saying? What does the shot feel like? Why are we shooting this at a low angle? Why is what side should we be on? And the liturgy was like a treasure trove of meaning that we could draw from.
Yeah.
It's like, this is why we're in the nave now. This is why we're moving in now. This is why we're, on the other side of the altar, we're in the Holy of Holies.
And are you shooting it from the perspective of like someone sitting on the pews going in? Do you shift perspectives whenever you're getting the B-roll of the Mass?
For the documentary, there's two main kinds of footage we want to get of the liturgy. We want to get very realistic footage of what people can expect. Actually film masses as they actually happen, so we're not intruding. But then we also want footage like you saw in the trailer of, let's do a dry mass, so the Eucharist is in a separate room.
Yeah.
There's no actual mass happening, and we can be anywhere and film anything.
That's
and
awesome.
capture all the little details.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because there's so many little details in the Latin Mass.
I mean, you talk about the fingers of the priest, things like that.
52 signs of the cross. It's just like, oh my gosh, it's just rich with meaning. And what he turns, I think, 5 times to the people because it represents Jesus's 5 post-resurrection appearances.
Jeez,
just so much meaning in the Latin
awesome.
Mass.
It's like a catechism. You're
And
learning.
it's never
That's how we learned
Yeah.
for so many centuries, was just inculcated into the Latin
Yeah.
Mass. We just learned by watching and experiencing.
And it seems like now, even outside of the Mass, a lot of it is, I feel like it. It's cool. It's pretty. It's fun. You know, there's no meaning to these things. There's no, I love that. It's beautiful.
And I love how you started the conversation about your experience with, adoration, the Eucharist, and because I've been in adoration before, and I've been, kneeling to receive our Lord in the Eucharist before, and thinking, this is I'm either the most ridiculous, stupid person in the world, bowing down before a piece of bread, or this is the King of Kings, and there's no in between. It's and of course I absolutely believe the latter, but and if the latter is true, which it is, boy, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
This isn't something that. Okay, whatever.
Like, what else is true? What else? What else am I going to uncover after being hit with that? Shock, that realization.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Is this you say it's like more than a year before this comes out, next Christmas 2021? Is this your full-time thing, or are you doing this but you're like an engineer in your full-time job, or is this your
Did you almost
gig?
say a real job, Dave? You were talking to 3 people who here do film. That is not
I sometimes don't know if I have a real job, but is this you're doing full-time effort here?
So the vast majority of the funds we raise, I'm just putting into the film.
Yeah.
I'm not quitting my job and doing this full time. We're certainly doing it as quick as possible, but it takes time to plan, productions, and especially going to Italy and France. There's a lot of planning that takes place.
Add COVID to all
Oh,
that.
right, yeah.
Sprinkle COVID on everything. Yeah.
And I'm sure the editing is going to be a process. That's going to be a
Yeah,
lot of
right.
footage you're going to have to sift through and put
Yep.
that story together.
That's
Documentaries
true.
come together in the editing room.
And what I'm thinking too is like, it's got to be so hard to just call it the final cut, because you're probably going to get so many interesting people that are going to pop up. You're in the middle of editing, and then you get a phone call from like Cardinal so-and-so who's like, I'm super interested. I want to be featured. And you're just like,
Well, and it can be edited together in so many different ways.
Cardinal so-and-so.
Yeah.
Hey, Cameron, what are you up to?
Hey, Cameron, I saw you on Guadalupe. And,
Who would be your dream interview? And if you could give you one person called
Benedict
you.
the 16th, but that's just not going to happen.
man.
I sent him a letter.
Yeah.
Like a handwritten letter. We sent it to him, and his secretary sent it back and said, it is not possible.
Yeah. He's too
at
old.
least they replied, though.
Well,
At least you
Cardinal
replied.
Sarah, because he's had a liturgy, right?
Yes, and he wrote an amazing book on silence. He would be fantastic to interview. We do have some inroads to him that might play out, so Sarah would be very interesting.
Do you have like your dream team list? Like the whiteboard with like
top tier, second
visualize
tier.
it and make it a reality.
We haven't made it into tiers.
The
tiers
power
yet,
rankings.
But we definitely have a list of
That's
cardinals
awesome.
and priests and like I said, people who are more in the middle, more sympathetic to the Novus Ordo. I definitely want to hear from them too.
Yeah, cool. All right, we got to start wrapping things up, but I do want real quickly. Two among us have watched the Fatima movie for the first time.
Finally.
The movie that came out like a month ago.
Amazon
okay, you know what?
Prime did.
But
It was
have
great.
you seen it? Yeah,
No, I
okay,
haven't.
you haven't.
Not
Okay.
Aha. See?
All right. You guys don't have to feel so bad because he hasn't seen it. But
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fatima
Now
movie,
you know how we felt a month ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are y'all's thoughts?
You go first. Go for
okay.
it.
I was
Yeah.
going to make you go first.
All right,
okay,
I'll go
that's
first.
Ladies
I'll go
first.
first. Yeah, no, go ahead. Okay,
Oh, okay,
fine.
okay.
No. We're just gonna spend the last 5 minutes.
I saw it. So I saw it with my best friends, and I really enjoyed it. I thought overall I really enjoyed it. A lot of Christian, especially Catholic films, sometimes the quality is not as good as you'd like it to be, but it was very beautifully shot. I like that they follow Lucia. Like most of the film, it was really, you kind of felt like she was always in a dreamlike state, She was always kind of experiencing the apparition. It was very interesting. If I had to make a complaint, I thought the pacing was a little bit off.
Oh, yeah?
Personally.
Too slow or what?
No, I just felt like it suddenly ended, and it didn't have a build-up, a good build-up.
They didn't resolve like Lucia in the 80s
Yes.
and 90s.
Yes.
That conversation just kind of ended.
I was expecting to go back to that.
I was thinking like Harvey Keitel would have had like a change of heart, or
Right,
like someone
or
would have
something.
impacted him.
Yeah.
That's what I was
even
assuming was gonna
ever so
happen.
slightly,
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to end with that.
Yeah.
Also, another subtle complaint: the miracle of the dancing sun. Didn't they all become dry with their clothing?
Yeah.
And they were all still soaking wet. and
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
when are they going to become dry?
Right.
Yeah, I guess they didn't have a change
Like
of clothes.
the
so-
Day of the Sun Dance, the CCC animated film.
Yeah.
it was like 100% accurate and everything. I was like, no, that's not what they showed in the cartoon. Like, go back.
Yeah, some people
No.
say also Our Lady was on the ground and really she should have been up in
Like in a tree or something, right?
Well, up in the air. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't catch that when I saw it, but some people have been critical of
I'm
that.
understanding from filmmakers' perspective that not everything can get into a
Right.
film, you know, but
Yeah.
there were some things I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, whenever I watch a movie, I just put myself in the place where I'm going to assume everything that I'm seeing is true.
Yeah.
Because it just allows you to open up and just watch everything. And I think it was very beautifully done. You couldn't possibly fit the amazingness and epicness of Our Lady of Fatima in an hour and 45 minutes. You just can't. It's impossible. So they don't mention some important things like Russia and this and then the secrets and all that stuff that I think matter. But how could you possibly fit all of that in?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And then, but it was shot beautifully. I mean, the Game of Thrones, one of the DPs of the Game of Thrones directed the thing.
Are you kidding me? I did not know that.
So it's gonna be
That's quite a change
beautiful.
of
It was an atheist
content.
director, worked on Game of Thrones. Like, of course, it's going to be gorgeous.
Yeah.
What to me it did is it introduced a lot of people who didn't know about Our Lady of Fatima to Our Lady of Fatima.
That's true.
Yeah.
And you're not going to just heavy hand them as well. You're just going to lay out some basics, and now they're going to start investigating. It's kind of like what you said. Let's lay out some evidence, and then let the audience go from there.
Yeah.
I will say there's a story that I got from my wife was talking to somebody at a party last week, and she was talking about how she has a crazy story about how what happened when she was trying to watch the movie. So she downloaded the movie like on Amazon Prime or whatever, and trying to play it, and it wasn't working. And her son comes into the room and says, "Mommy, there's snakes in my room. I can't fall asleep." And so she would go and be like, "No, there's no snakes, whatever. I'm trying to watch this movie." She'd come back, play the movie, wouldn't work. Son came back. "Mommy, there's like yellow snakes in my room. I can't fall asleep. I think they're going to attack me." She would go. They weren't there. And the third time it happened, she realized what was going on. Like, someone was preventing them from watching this movie.
Yeah.
They said the prayer to St. Michael the Archangel. Snakes went away. The movie worked.
Oh, wow.
Well,
that's amazing.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's like,
Feast
28th,
of the
29th.
Angels. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
very well done movie. Very beautiful, though.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think
very
most people
beautiful.
like
Very
to
beautiful.
And it was a nice intro to the topic to so many
Right.
Catholics who don't know who
Oh
she
yeah,
is.
it made me like look things up
Yeah.
immediately because I was like, wait, did that
Yeah.
happen or did that happen?
Yeah.
You wanted to look into it more.
And I just, by the way, I think y'all know this, but I got to interview the young girl that plays Lucia, and she's 15 now. I think she was 13 at the time they filmed it, and I got to do a Zoom interview where I actually got to see her, and that's on our Facebook page for Guadalupe Radio Network. It's about 15 minutes long or so, but that was kind of cool to interview her. Stephanie, I forget her last name,
Gil?
but Gil,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Gil, Stephanie Gil. And last question I have for you, Cameron, is once you get this done, because you mentioned it's going to go to the theaters. How do you get it out there? I mean, what if you wanted to get it in, Cinemark theaters, or what's the process of that? How do you do that?
It's a fun one.
So I mentioned it's theater quality, but it's not going to be in theaters.
Oh, it's not going to be in theaters.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
I think the theater model is going to slowly die.
Well, COVID kind of killed it.
Fast forward.
Oh,
I
yeah,
called
I
it by
think so. You think
2025.
so?
It's going to happen next year.
It'll be done.
It's going to be like the drive-in. It's going to be like a nostalgic
novelty.
thing you do.
A
Like Alamo
novelty.
Draft House
Yeah.
will probably stick around.
Really?
AMC is going to collapse.
Because a lot
I
of
think
people
they're all going
have
to collapse.
screens in their house
Except for
That are
Draft
bigger,
House.
yeah. Than
Yeah,
Like
so-
those
but I
dinner
think-
ones are going to be the ones that stick around, I believe. All
Yeah,
the other
there's
ones are going to
something
be
about
gone.
going to the theater that's just
But
different.
the
It's a
other
different
ones are
experience.
cheaper.
Yeah, but also like think about it with me with a family of 3 kids. It's like $100 to go to the movies now.
Yeah.
I can just I can just buy Fatima for $20 on my phone or in my TV with movie theater quality,
Cheaper
TV
snacks.
and surround sound.
Yep.
Snacks from the pantry.
Yeah.
I save $80 every
How many
week.
times
great.
how many times did you guys go to the theater to see a movie in
Once
let's
a
say,
week.
2019?
Once a week.
Really?
Once,
I'd
maybe
say
twice a week.
2019 I probably went twice.
I had a draft house down the street from my house.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So
dangerous.
you go get a
though.
drink, watch a movie, get a post-movie drink to talk
sounds
about
great.
it. It's
We
the
had a
greatest.
beautiful
Yeah.
hidden gem that it was a cheaper theater down the street from us too. So
That's
that was
awesome.
lovely.
Yeah.
It was like $5 cheaper than every
That's
other
great.
theater.
Yeah.
So and
Yeah.
that died, of course, when COVID
Yeah.
started. But
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never heard anybody say that theaters may just go
Oh, they're
away.
going away. I called it like in 2025,
Yeah.
but I think it's happening like now,
Right.
next year.
Interesting.
Yeah, so instead
Yeah.
of we're not going with theaters, certainly.
Anyways.
And
Yeah, good.
Not after that prediction.
Great call. Great call.
Okay.
Yeah,
Heard it
with
from
video on
Alex.
demand.
Sorry.
But so it'll be video on demand. It'll be certainly available first to our backers, people
Yeah.
who supported the project. And then if people want to give now, they can certainly do that. So anyone who gave $25 during the Kickstarter, but now it's $50. We'll get first access to it, and also the unedited interviews. So just we'll polish them up, but all the stuff we shot, all the long interviews,
awesome. Like the Taylor Marshall
Cool.
and that kind of stuff.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
B-roll, right? Is that what it's called?
A-roll, actually.
Let's not get too much into the particulars. That's A-roll?
B-roll's like the
Okay.
shot of his
Talking head.
library.
It's a talking
and then
head,
we're also looking at streaming platforms like Formed or selling
Oh,
it
that'd be
licensing
awesome.
for a time to
That'd be cool.
EWTN, that kind of thing.
That's cool.
Yep.
All right. Gosh, we kept you 30 minutes extra.
Sorry.
That was awesome.
Thanks for having me.
You got a
Okay.
movie to shoot. Like,
Yeah, I'm gonna go shoot a movie.
you go.
so-
I'm afraid that
Now
movie's
it's-
not going to
now
be
see you guys-
2023 or something.
See you guys in a year.
Easter of 22 now because Palmer kept him an extra 15 minutes, right?
Jonathan,
All right,
we'll text him to apologize.
Yeah, thanks so
Thanks
much.
so much.
Yeah,
The
great to
producer's
meet
mad.
you. And thanks to Diane for doing a great job on Facebook. Alex, good to see you. Sissel, and we'll see you next Friday for the next GRN Alive show. God bless you guys.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
That was cool. Well, thank you so much. Thanks. Hey, can we get a picture of you?
Oh yeah, I'd love a picture too.
Yeah, let me get you. How about we'll get?
Yeah, let's.